Welcome back. Today I want to talk about pacing your year combined with season pacing. It's that time of year where we're going to be reviewing our performance. And the question that you want to consider and ask yourself is, did I get my fitness to the finish line? Was my racing performance my best performance of the year? Some years it will be. Other years it's sort of like, well, I kind of left it in training. And if that's the case, I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of analysis that might help you better pace next year and learn from possibly not getting this season pacing piece correct. So you can do this with different types of platforms. I store my data on Training Peaks, and so I'm going to show you how to use their system, but you can do the principle of what I'm going to explain applies regardless of the system you're using for your training log. Now, you do need data, and I realize it is a pain in the butt to capture heart rate data as well as power and pace data across the year. But for your key workouts, at a minimum, I recommend you capture everything, because then it enables you to go back and do the sort of analysis that I'm going to show you right now. So this is my calendar. And then if I go to the dashboard, I'm going to shrink me down, get me kind of out of the way. That's sort of the performance management chart. But what I want to show you is this chart, fitness history. And this is peak heart rate, bike and run. And what we're going to be able to have a look at, and let's blow it up a bit. There we go. Let's get me out of the way. And it's going to give you kind of a view for the last few weeks, but what we want to look at is view by month. And this is 5 second, 1 minute, 5 minute, 20 minute, and 60 minute. So it'll give you an idea of sustained stress. And one of the things in your program is there'll be times a year where you get a bang for your buck with the sustained highly intense training. And there's other times of the year where it'll make more sense to break that kind of stuff up. So it's shorter intervals and don't create strain. So you're preserving your mojo for when it matters. And what do I mean by that? Well, a little glance down this 60-minute column will give us a bit of a look at that. So August, my off season. So the most sustained session that was done heart rate wise was 122 beats. So very mellow, kind of zone 1 effort. I didn't even do an hour of, say, zone 2 work. Everything, the quicker stuff, all short, all broken up. Switch over to September last year, October, November. It's pretty mellow there. That's all green zone. I'm not really doing an hour. That would be an hour of easy tempo in December. That was my first hour of easy tempo there. And then I did a half marathon in January, and that's that 1:59. That was the first really sustained thing I did last season. Again, after that, goes back pretty mellow. And then in July, my highest sustained hour was 156. Now, what I didn't have heart rate data for my Alp Triathlon, which would have seen probably a higher sustained effort there, either on the run or on one of the long climbs. But that's all that, everything else, my training data was captured there. And so you can look at the difference between these short periods, 5 seconds and a minute, and then the 20-minute and 60-minute segments. Some athletes will be really revving their engine in a sustained way for relatively long periods of time all year round. If that works for you, great. If you end up injured, or you have bone stress injuries, or you're the kind of athlete that doesn't race better than they train, you need to look at this. Because what it means is you're putting too much energy, sustained energy, into those hard, sustained workouts. And if you break them up a bit and moderate your approach across the season, you'll be able to put more into your key moments. All right, now I want to show you the same thing, but I also want to show you how fitness can change across the year. And what I mean by that, that shows up in my power data. So let's blow it up a bit. There we go. All right, so this is the same thing and the same periods, 5 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minute, 20 minutes, 60 minute. And it's a little bit skewed because my winter numbers are on a different power meter than my summer numbers. Okay, so part of the jump you're going to see in my summer numbers these last 4 months is due to getting on my outdoor bike, which has a different power meter. So you need to be aware of that too. Make sure you're comparing like for like. And if you're not, try and do some testing so you can see what the delta is between your different power meters. And there's ways to adjust it in Training Peaks. I don't go into that much. It's kind of time spent for not much benefit for me. Once I go outside, I'm on the outside bike. I know that. When I'm indoors, I'm on my indoor power meter. Now, what I do have is I've got a pedal-based power meter, the Favero power pedals, and I can swap those between bikes. And that'll give me consistent power when I'm in the same month. But this will give you a bit of a feel. So when I'm indoors, I'll do more short duration, kind of higher intensity stuff, and that shows up in these 5-second numbers there across the winter. Same deal with the 1-second numbers. But again, what I want to focus on is this 1 hour number. So the long sustained, and you can also look at the 20-minute number. It shows the same effect, but it really shows up in the 1 hour numbers. And what you'll see is when I'm starting up October, November, December, and January. So that's 4 months where my best hour is 200 watts. So that means I'm not hitting it in a sustained manner. So if I'm doing any tempo or any big gear work, it's going to be shorter duration. You can see that in the 5-minute column and what's that other one? The 1 minute and the 5-minute column. So I'm not doing a lot of stuff that's really strenuous and straining myself across the winter. I'm kind of focusing on other things, building my run up, staying balanced, strength training, maybe building my swim in certain months. February was a big swim period for me. And what that means is I come out of the winter generally fit, but not specifically fit really in any sport. Although I did do that January half marathon just to get myself a tempo benchmark and see where I'm at. Then we get into the spring and the summer and I start adding tempo. Now I have a gravel bike which doesn't have power. So the jump, this big jump that you see in the 1 hour to 280 watts, it's probably not quite as big a jump in reality because I was doing some sustained gravel bike training here in Colorado to get ready before I went and did my sustained road trip. But it does show you the difference and the pacing, because what we see is in the summer, we see a big jump in those longer climbs and in the more sustained tempo type main sets. And what that enabled me to do was my fitness built across the summer, culminating in my best ride being my final ride, which was in the race. Now, that wasn't a max effort because I had to run 20K off the bike, but my best overall ride was placed on race day. And by meaning best relative to my potential for that 7-hour race. And that's something you want to bear in mind too. You want to leave yourself room so that these best efforts, these truly hard and challenging days, are race days. So you can lift above training. And training is about putting the pieces together and getting your body ready for those work rates, but not compressing all the work rates into the same event. That's what you're going to do on game day. So I hope this helps you get some ideas in terms of reviewing your season, because when you think about next season and your plan for next season, the first thing you want to do is actually look backwards and say, well, look, what mistakes did I make? What did I get right? And what should I keep from what went great last year? And what do I need to adjust and make visible to myself so I don't repeat the same error in 2025? All right, I'll see you at the races. Hope this helps.